It's me for you and you for me today on Garage Movie Reviews when we watch Ernest Goes to Camp. Know what I mean? Hello and welcome to Garage Movie Reviews, the show where I review all the movies in my collection, which are in boxes right behind me. I'm Levi, the Garage Movie Guy. Welcome to my garage, and today we're talking about one of my favorite fictional people of all time, Ernest P Whorrell. I was pretty obsessed with Ernest when I was a kid. I would walk around the house and try to imitate his gags. I would speak like him. I would try to replicate his ornate monologues. And my parents were very patient with me because they indulged this. My dad would even send lines back and forth, saying some of his patented lines.
You know, you can make a fire this way. Boy, is it painful. Oh!
He always brought a lot of joy to our house, and I wouldn't be surprised if part of my camera presence on this show is due in part to watching Jim Varney so much as a child. In Ernest Goes to Camp, Jim Varney plays Ernest, the maintenance man for Camp Kikiki, but he has bigger dreams of becoming a camp counselor.
I'll be shaping and molding youthful minds into a focused worldview.
He gets this opportunity with a group of misfits known as the Second Chance Boys, a group that the regular camp counselors want nothing to do with.
Stennis, the delinquent you ordered? All yours.
Meanwhile, we meet the villain, Sherman Krader, played by John Vernon, who wants to buy Camp Kikiki so that he can dig it up to extract petrocite from the ground. But standing in his way is the owner of the land, Chief St. Cloud, played by Iron Eyes Cody, who was known for playing Native Americans in films for decades. Most popularly, he was known as the Crying Indian in the Keep America Beautiful PSAs that ran on Earth Day in 1971. After a misunderstanding finds Ernest at fault for handing over the land rights to Camp Kikiki, he and the Last Chance Boys must fight the Krader Mining Company and save the camp that they've come to love. Ernest is a character that was created at the Carden and Cherry Ad Agency in Nashville, Tennessee. Starting in 1980, Jim Varney portrayed Ernest P Whorrell in a series of commercials across the southern United States, advertising everything from dairy products to automobiles to local news teams. And Ernest made his way to the big screen for the very first time in his own movie in 1987 for Ernest Goes to Camp, the first of 4 movies funded by the Walt Disney Company. As I said before, this was the first theatrical release to feature Ernest P Whorrell. However, this was not his first film appearance. Just 1 year before, Jim Varney made a cameo as Ernest in the film Dr. Otto and the Riddle of the Gloombeam, also written and directed by John Cherry. One of the mainstays in many Ernest films is Jackie Welch, and in Ernest Goes to Camp, she plays the penitentiary guard. She's also heard in the background singing the song Doing Time. Sun comes up, but it don't ever shine. Most of the music is original to the film, written by Alice and Shane Keister, including the surprisingly emotional Gee, I'm Glad It's Raining, sung beautifully by Jim Varney himself.
Sure, I'm glad it's raining.
However, there is one song taken from popular culture that was used pretty cleverly. In one scene, Ernest's pet box turtle, Pokey, bites him on the nose. The Second Chance Boys come in and want to rip him off, but Ernest explains that Pokey likes to be lulled to sleep, so they sing a song.
Remember me and you. And you and me.
The boys sing Happy Together, which was released 20 years earlier in 1967 by a band called The Turtles. The melody for the song is used throughout the film. One voice that anyone who's watched cartoons in the last 30 years might recognize is that of Scott Menville, who played Crutchfield.
Yeah, that's the guy who once ate 2 pounds of modeling clay.
He has a ton of voice acting credits from video games, films, and how I knew him, cartoons. He had parts in everything from the Get Along Gang to Rainbow Bright, Captain Planet and the Planeteers, A Pup Named Scooby-Doo. He also played Robin in both Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go. If you watch cartoons in the 80s and 90s, just look him up on IMDb. I'm sure it'll be a trip down memory lane. Something that always kind of bothered me about this film as opposed to the other Ernest films was it gets pretty violent toward the end, and it doesn't just get violent. I mean, Ernest is always having inventions blow up in his face, literally and figuratively. He's usually involved in some sort of accident, but he responds like a cartoon and usually doesn't get hurt. But in this movie, he actually gets beaten down by the Krader Industries foreman when he first confronts the mining company. The foreman is played by 3 Mile Lyle Alzado, an NFL lineman who just a few years prior had helped lead the LA Raiders to victory over the Washington Redskins in the Super Bowl. But back to this scene, I always felt that it was a little too violent, and the fact that Ernest gets really beat up disturbed me a little bit as a kid, but it doesn't really detract from the overall message of the movie, which is to be true to yourself and pure of heart, and you'll always come out on top. I didn't go to a summer camp like Camp Kikiki when I was a kid, but I feel like through this movie, I got to experience a little bit what it was like, and moreover, I got to experience it with Ernest, who was already a big part of my childhood, so all in all, this is a really good experience. I wouldn't even say that this is my favorite Ernest film. That honor probably goes to Ernest Saves Christmas or Ernest Goes to Jail, but I still think this is a great family film. It has a good message about believing in yourself, and when all is said and done, Ernest just loves these kids and he wants what's best for them. And he has this ability to look for the best in people, even when the worst is staring them in the face. And I think that's something we can all aspire to. If you're at all interested in Ernest, you should check out Ernest Goes to Podcast, where hosts Aaron and David go through every scrap of film and video that features one Ernest P Whorrell and sort of breaks down his character based on those multiple iterations. It's a lot of fun, and if you haven't experienced Ernest, it's a really good starting point. So who should watch this movie? Well, if you're a fan of this guy and you haven't watched this movie, I don't know what you're waiting on. If you watched it when you were a kid, maybe it's time to revisit it. If you've ever wondered about the strategic benefits of airborne reptiles in domestic combat, then we've got you covered. And finally, if you're like me and didn't spend your summers building canoes by the river or learning survival skills in the forest or shooting a bow and arrow, instead you spent it in your backyard, possibly on your couch, watching movies and TV shows about this on your family tube television, then you should definitely check out Ernest Goes to Camp because it brings back a lot of those fond memories from the 80s. As always, I want to know what you think. Are you a fan of Ernest? Have you seen Ernest Goes to Camp? Did I pique your interest just a little bit? If you go watch it, come on back, comment down below, let me know what you thought. But until next time, I'm Levi the Garage Movie Guy saying, well, at least nobody was hurt. It's that Ernest movie you're so jealously fond of.
Are you kidding me?
In Super Bowl, I don't know, football, airborne reptiles, efficacy?
Oh, were you having fun or what?
I think that honor would probably go to Ernest Goes to Christmas. Ernest Goes to Christmas? What?